You know, not every ghost story is just make-believe, and those urban legends people joke about, the ones passed around at sleepovers or shared on creepy internet threads late at night, sometimes they're real. A lot of these stories start off harmless, just weird rumors or cautionary tales meant to scare kids. But every now and then, they lead to something darker, a police case, a terrifying discovery, or a mystery that no one's ever been able to explain. All over the world, we've heard stories passed down for years. Faceless figures watching from the dark, strange noises inside the walls, or people who vanish without a trace. Most of us brush it off and say, that stuff's not real, but what if it is? What if those creepy whispers and local legends actually had some truth to them? In this video, we're diving into some of the scariest urban legends that turned out to be real, from haunted roads and eerie motel rooms to people hiding in plain sight, and even actual corpses mistaken for props in haunted houses. The Green Man Raymond Robinson, later known as the Green Man, became a living legend in Beaver County, Pennsylvania. After a horrific childhood accident with a high-voltage wire left his face severely disfigured, Raymond became something of a myth. His eyes were damaged, his nose was gone, and his skin bore deep scars. To avoid disturbing people, he chose to walk rural roads at night, often for hours on end. Local teens, spotting a shadowy figure glowing eerily under headlights, began whispering of a radioactive ghost haunting the hills. Some said he was the spirit of a miner who died in a cave-in. Others claimed he emitted green light because of chemical burns. The truth was less supernatural but no less haunting. Raymond was a kind man who made crafts, listened to radio, and talked with those brave enough to stop. He passed away in 1985, but the legend of the Green Man lives on, blurring the line between urban myth and lonely reality. The body under the mattress. This terrifying urban legend has horrifying real-world roots, and it's happened more than once. One of the most bone-chilling cases occurred in 1999 at a New Jersey motel. Guests renting room 112 complained repeatedly about a foul, rotting odor. Staff sprayed air fresheners, shampooed the carpet, but the smell lingered. Only when a guest demanded a room change did cleaners lift the mattress, uncovering a decomposing body jammed inside the box spring. It was the corpse of Saul Hernandez, left there days before. Even worse, multiple guests had unknowingly slept above it. Over the years, similar cases surfaced, bodies hidden beneath mattresses in Las Vegas, Miami, even Florida. It became clear this wasn't a one-time fluke, but a disturbing tactic used by criminals, taking advantage of hotels' dark corners. Some hotels now use sealed platform beds to stop this horror from ever happening again. But travelers still share warnings online. Always check beneath the bed, just in case. Cropsey. For decades, Staten Island kids were terrified of Cropsey, a crazed figure who snatched children near an abandoned mental institution. Parents used the tale to scare kids into coming home before dark. But in the 1980s, fiction turned to nightmare. Andre Rand, a former orderly at Willowbrook State School, was arrested for abducting several young girls. His behavior was chillingly similar to the urban legend. He lived in the woods, had a criminal past, and targeted vulnerable children, especially those with disabilities. The ruins of Willowbrook, once meant for care, had become a breeding ground for darkness. Rumors spread that Rand wasn't alone, that a whole cult used the tunnels beneath the building. While only Rand was convicted, the stories persisted. Documentaries, news coverage, and survivor testimonies blurred the line between myth and reality, leaving a community scarred and the name Cropsey forever synonymous with fear. Le Loyon Deep in the misty forests of Switzerland, a ghostly figure known as Le Loyon haunted woodland paths for over a decade. He wore a tattered camouflage cloak and a vintage gas mask that covered his entire face, giving him the appearance of a creature straight from a dystopian nightmare. Hikers reported unexpected encounters, a towering figure stepping from the fog, silently observing before disappearing into the trees. Children refused to play in certain parts of the woods. In 2013, a brave photographer captured an image, proof that Le Loyon was real. Shortly after, the gas mask and cloak were found abandoned in the forest, along with a chilling note. It read like a farewell, expressing shame, isolation, and despair over the media attention. No one ever discovered the identity of the person behind the mask. Was it a mentally ill man seeking peace, a misunderstood loner, or something else entirely? Le Loyon became one of the few urban legends to be backed by physical evidence and mystery. Enjoying these real-life horrors? Make sure to hit that subscribe button. We uncover the darkest true tales behind your favorite urban legends. And trust us, it only gets more chilling from here. The Toxic Lady. The story of Gloria Ramirez sounds like it was ripped from a sci-fi horror film. In 1994, she was rushed to the ER in Riverside, California, suffering from advanced cervical cancer. But as nurses drew her blood, something terrifying happened. A strange ammonia-like smell filled the room. Her blood had oily, crystal-like particles floating in it. Then staff began collapsing. Nurses fainted, doctors grew nauseous, one even suffered liver damage. In total, 23 hospital workers were affected, 5 hospitalized. What could turn a human body into a toxic weapon? Investigators suspected DMSO, a chemical Gloria may have used for pain. When metabolized, it might have turned into a poisonous gas inside her body. Some still believe the real explanation was hushed up. No floors melted, but the ER became a hazardous zone that night. Gloria Ramirez became infamous as the Toxic Lady. Her name whispered in both science and horror circles. The Bunny Man. It began in 1970 with a bizarre report. A couple in Fairfax County, Virginia claimed a man in a bunny suit attacked their car with an axe. Just days later, a security guard spotted a similar figure smashing up an unfinished house. More sightings followed, dozens of them. Locals soon tied the mystery to a nearby railway overpass, which became known as the Bunny Man Bridge. Urban legend twisted the story. They said he was an escaped mental patient who murdered children and hung their remains in the trees. In truth, no murders were ever confirmed. But the axe-wielding man was never caught. The outfit? Unexplained. His motive? A mystery. Yet every Halloween, thrill seekers flocked to Bunny Man Bridge. The legend grew beyond fact, but it started with real, documented terror. The idea that someone in a ridiculous costume could harbor such violence unsettled everyone. It was absurd, and somehow more terrifying for it. People in the walls. The thought is pure nightmare fuel. Someone secretly living inside your home. But it's happened. And not just once. In 1986, Massachusetts teen Daniel LaPlante broke into a family's home. Not to rob it, but to live in it. He crawled through the walls, listened to conversations, and watched the family through tiny holes. He even began to torment them, moving objects, whispering, writing threatening messages on mirrors. When police finally found him, he was hiding inside a hollowed-out space behind a cupboard. Years later, in 2008, a Japanese man noticed food disappearing from his fridge. He set up a camera and discovered a woman had been living undetected in his closet for nearly a year. She only came out when he left for work. These cases prove that sometimes, what we fear most, that we're being watched, isn't paranoia. It's real. The Funhouse Corpse. Imagine walking through a haunted attraction, laughing at fake skeletons and props, until one turns out to be real. That's exactly what happened in 1976 at the Pike Amusement Park in California. A film crew working on a TV show accidentally broke what they thought was a prop. Inside was bone. Human bone. The body belonged to Elmer McCurdy, a Wild West outlaw shot in 1911. After his death, a funeral director embalmed him with arsenic and displayed the body when no one claimed it. Carnival owners eventually bought him, and his mummified remains toured the country for decades, often mistaken for a papier-mâché figure. His jaw fell off, his limbs stiffened, but still no one knew. It wasn't until that accident in the funhouse that anyone realized they'd been looking at a corpse. McCurdy was finally buried in 1977, with concrete over his casket, to make sure he stayed put. What do you think? Was this story eerie, fascinating, or just plain disturbing? Let us know in the comments. What did you love? What gave you chills? And what creeped you out the most? Your reactions help us uncover which legends to explore next.
So next time you hear an urban legend, whether it's whispered around a campfire or posted in a comment thread, maybe don't be so quick to laugh it off. Because behind the ghost stories and local myths, there could be a police file, a news headline, or a body buried beneath the surface. Legends don't always start in fiction. Sometimes they're warnings. Sometimes they're memories. And sometimes they're the last trace of something too strange to explain. The world is full of shadows hiding in plain sight. The question is, how many of them are real? Urban legends remind us that horror doesn't always need a ghost or a monster. Sometimes it's a stranger in your walls, a body under your bed, or a smile from someone who isn't supposed to be there. Because in the end, reality doesn't need to make sense. It just needs to be terrifying enough to never be forgotten. These aren't just characters from folklore. They were real, living pieces of someone's nightmare. And they leave behind more than just rumors. They leave unanswered questions.